I have returned. I thought it would be a good time to maybe get into the weekend with some Bernie bits, um, maybe a little investment talk, some comments on the Cardinals, maybe a comment on the Blues. And it's happy hour. I just have coffee. I'm going to have to change that next time I do these. I hope you're doing well. And thank you for the support of the show. We're moving towards 5,000 subscribers. So help us get there. Make sure you tell everybody about it if you like it, or even if you just find it somewhat interesting, even if you think I'm full of hot air, that's fine too. Love you. Anyway, I want to start off with a couple of things here before we get to some football picks. What are the Cardinals going to do with Ryan Helsley? And listen, this team has had starting rotation that ranks 23rd in ERA. The offense ranks 24th in runs per game. I don't need to say any more than that. They've had a hell of a bullpen. I mean, they have had a really, really good bullpen. I went back. I won't bore you with the numbers because it would take too long to read them all. But I went back. This is 29th season since Bill DeWitt Jr. bought the team. So you're looking at 29 seasons where you can compare bullpens. And this is, I would say, this is one of the top 6 bullpens the Cardinals have had in these 29 years, and that's borne out by the facts. And even where they rank in the major leagues this year, their bullpen ERA is in the top 10. The fielding independent ERA is in the top 10. They have that incredible record when they have a lead after 7 innings. They've only lost 3 games all year. They've only lost one game all year when they have a lead after the 8th inning. They're one of only 3 teams that have just one or less. And they've really taken really good care of things. And they just, unfortunately, the front office didn't put a better team around the bullpen, because I wrote a piece at scoopsnetwork.com about this. And the Cardinals bullpen has been the star of the season for the Cardinals because the performance has just been fantastic. I mean, Helsley leads the major leagues in saves. And when you look at Kittredge, he's number 2. Well, he and JoJo Romero are near the top in terms of holds. Kittredge has got 33 holds this year. And since Bill DeWitt bought the team, there's only one guy who's had more holds in a season. That was Mitchell Boggs back in 2012, I believe. But that was 34, so Kittredge is going to pass him by. And JoJo Romero will probably get past Boggs, I would imagine, as well. So this is a really, really good bullpen. You look at Helsley, and I know some of you don't like the fancy stats, and that's all right. But win probability added, it's just a simple thing. Remember with it, does a guy help you win, or does he hurt your chances of winning? Well, if you look at the Cardinals bullpen, Cardinals relievers since 1996, the last 29 season, Helsley's win probability added. In other words, he's beneficial to the quest of winning, very beneficial. This is his WPA for this season. I'm sorry. It's the best by a Cardinals reliever in a season. It's the best, and on and on and on. And he's got 44 saves. Only guys ahead of him are Trevor Rosenthal at 48 back in 2015, Jason Isringhausen 47 back in 2004, and Rosenthal again 45 in 2014. But those guys played on teams that won a lot more games. In other words, they had a lot more opportunities to save games. So it's amazing what Helsley's done. The fact that teams won 74 games, maybe they get to 81, maybe they get to 82. I don't know, 83, who knows? But the point is, it ain't 90 wins, right? So he's made the best out of the chances he's had. He's only blown 4 saves. And looking through Cardinals history again during the DeWitt era, that's really good. His save percentage is like the second best over that time. So I'll take that any day. And the setup guys have been great. So the Cardinals have had a really strong bullpen, and man, if you just you think about how good this team could have been had they put together a much better offense or guys performed the way we thought they would, or if they had been more ambitious with their starting rotation. But there's not much you can say about it at this point. I'm just saying that I really appreciate how damn good this bullpen was this season. One of the best in the majors, one of the best in the 29 years of Bill DeWitt's owned the team. And those are the facts. But Helsley can become a free agent after next season. We're going to do another video on this, and we'll go into detail about it. But Helsley can, as you know, can become a free agent after the end of next season. And what are the Cardinals going to do? Because, all right, look around. Let's take a look around. Who in the bullpen could be a closer in 2026? Could Ryan Fernandez develop into that? Maybe, but no sure thing. Do they have someone in the minor leagues who can kind of come out of nowhere and all of a sudden, boom, great closer? Listen, Trevor Rosenthal was kind of one of those guys, so that could happen. Will they have to go outside the organization? Now, Ryan Helsley, I would imagine, unless he gets hurt, and that's always a possibility, man, because relievers who throw that hard, they break a lot. So it's an interesting call. It's going to be an interesting call for Helsley. He says he's open to the idea of an extension. We'll find out about that, whether he really means it. But more than that, we'll find out if the Cardinals really want to do it. Are they afraid of signing Helsley to a longer-term contract? Because, again, relievers are fungible. Relievers break. When you throw that hard, the arm, the elbow, the shoulder, it's not built for that kind of velocity. But he has been fantastic this year. And the Cardinals are going to take a risk either way. My short version of this. The first risk is that they sign him and they pay him a lot. And it is a deal for term, 3-4 years, something like that. And he blows out an elbow. I hope not, but he blows out an elbow and you're going to miss a lot of service time. So he's not going to be pitching for you for a good chunk of that time. The other risk is you just say, let him walk. And then he goes on somewhere else, as most Cardinals do when they leave. They do better somewhere else, but he goes somewhere else and, just lights out closer. And in 2026, or if you trade him for 2025 before he can walk, who's going to close? If he walks, what do you got? I mean, how are you hoping to be good if you don't have the back end of the bullpen as strong as it is right now? So that's something that's on my mind. And the one thought is, okay, if you're not committed to give him the money because you think it's risky with relievers, I'm not endorsing anything here. But if that's their case, if that's their belief, well, then you better think hard about trading him because you probably could get good value in return. You could trade him at the trade deadline next July, end of July, but you're not going to get then what you could get before the season. I mean, that's just common sense. And I'm not advocating anything. There's no reason to right now. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see what the Cardinals feel about this. Are the Cardinals going into a real rebuild? I'm not talking about a teardown. Are they going into a rebuild? To use the Blues term, is it a soft rebuild? I don't know. They got a lot of work to do. I mean, they got a hell of a lot of work to do. So anyway, that's one thing. But I appreciate the bullpen. Appreciate Helsley. Really, really good stuff this season. One thing about the St. Louis Blues I want to talk about real quick as we moving around here in Bernie Bits. They and again, I'm not telling you something you already know. When we talk about a soft rebuild, Doug Armstrong never really used that term. I think a lot of people in the media, a lot of you all used it. They weren't in a teardown. This wasn't going to be a painful rebuild. Army was trying to kind of balance the two things. They had to get younger. They had to get faster. They had to get better. But how do you thread that particular needle, right? How do you manage to navigate that and get it done? Now, I'm not sitting here saying, well, the Blues are going to be great. They'll be back in the playoffs. I don't know I think there's a shot they'll be back in the playoffs, and I sure hope so. But the way he's added young players, this offseason, it's really impressive, when you add it all up and you think about how pain-free, relatively speaking, this soft rebuild was, and they're not out of it yet. But he gets the defenseman Philip Broberg, as we talked about last week, 23 years old, former number one pick. He, the offer sheet gets him for 2 years, 9.1 million, about 4.5 million per year. Then the 23-year-old center Dylan Holloway, or 23-year-old forward Dylan Holloway, 2 years, 4.6 million. It's nothing really in today's hockey economy. And even got Alexander Texier, got him on a good deal. He's 24 years old. He's a center. So you look around, and all of a sudden the Blues have all these young guys. And it's interesting because, people are saying, well, they're going to have to tear this down, or they just need to, face reality. It's going to be a long rebuild. It's going to be tough. Army managed to finesse this in a way in those 2 offer sheet deals where he gambled and he won, and he got those 2 guys from Edmonton because Edmonton didn't match. They have a very young core all of a sudden. I'm not saying they don't have older guys who might, drag them down a little bit. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying they have a really good young core. The guys who figure to be here for quite a long time, guys who figure to play a lot, and they never really had to rebuild. And I mean by that, all right, if this was the worst it was going to be, the Blues finished barely under 500 2 seasons ago. Last season, they actually had a winning record, comfortably so. And I looked it up before I started recording the video. Over the last 2 seasons, and again, this was during the rebuild, however you want to characterize it. 80 wins, 71 losses, 13 overtime losses. They were 20th in wins. And please understand me, I'm not saying, well, that's great. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, but if that's a rebuild, and now you're poised, you're set up nicely for the future without doing anything that caused you pain, whether it be trading assets away or spending a lot of money, they avoided to do all that, and they're really good shape going into this season. They're younger, they're faster. The payroll's under control, and we have it pretty good, because if the last 2 years were the pain, that was the hard part, the painful part. I think we all came out of it with a pretty low degree or low level of pain. Wouldn't you agree? Because I think better days are ahead. So this was not a savage rebuild that was going to render them, non-competitive for 3-4 years. That's my point. All right. I don't know to put myself on the line here with football picks, because, I get one wrong the first time, and you know how it is. You got to tease me. I get it. Nobody wants to hear it. I had a hell of a year last year, college football and NFL. So it's really tough for me to make intelligent investments so early in the season, because you're trying to get a read on teams, and you're trying to get a read like who plays well on the road. Who are the teams play great against the spread? Who covers? I got some ideas. First, since we talked about Mizzou, I'm going to follow up on that. We did that yesterday. Mizzou, they were up to, at one point, they were up to like 16-point favorite, 16.5-point favorite over Boston College, which comes into Faurot Field tomorrow morning. And I mentioned to you, people were hammering, they were pounding Boston College in terms of wagering. It was like 69-70% of the money was coming in on Boston College, because the investors were saying, well, that's a lot of points to lay. I mean, they are a ranked team. Well, the money started coming in so hard and heavy on Boston College that the sports books out in Vegas adjusted the line, and now that's down to 14.5. Now, that's still a pretty big spread, but it's dropped, depending on where you shop, it's dropped by 1.5 or 2 points through the week. So here's what I think. I think Mizzou will win the game. And I like the fact, as I mentioned yesterday, that it's a challenge. To me, it's their first real game. I had somebody in the comment section saying, well, I was negative because I wasn't declaring them the national champions or something, because they beat Murray State and Buffalo. And that's all right. I've been like that myself. I know what it's like to be kind of a crazy fan. He means well. But Mizzou is, as I mentioned, they got some stuff to prove. There's a lot of eyes on them now. When you're number 6 in one poll and you're number 8 in another poll, that's why I put them at 7 yesterday, because I don't know which one I trust more. So I put them in the middle. They're 7. I don't know. They're going to a lot of scrutiny, a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. People are going to be really eyeballing them. So I like that, and I'm sure they'll love the challenge. It's all good. But what I would do if I were investing, I would, play. I would take Mizzou to win, but I would, bet that Boston College would cover. That's all. Now, moving on to the NFL, and I think my best bet of the week is the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm not just saying that because they're across the state and they get booming TV ratings in St. Louis. Dan Caesar wrote about that for Friday, and they do. They get phenomenal ratings at KMOV Channel 4. I look at the Chiefs, and again, the line has shifted a little bit. It was at one point, I think it opened where the Chiefs were a 4.5 point favorite over the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going up to 6 because people are banging the Bengals, saying, "Well, it's Joe Burrow. They play the Chiefs tough. They've won a big game down there in Arrowhead, and so we really like we're going to take those points." Well, I got that screwed up, and I apologize. People were banging on the Chiefs because they're saying, "Well, 4.5 at home. Okay, I'll take that." And then because people were hitting the Chiefs so hard, and again, I apologize, I didn't explain that right the first time. People were hitting the Chiefs so hard with their wagers, the line moved to 6, and now some money is coming in. A lot more money's coming in on the Bengals. So I always look at those betting line shifts, and sometimes you can find pretty good value. And the fact that I feel so good about the Chiefs winning and covering, I really don't care if the line's 4.5 or 6. The Bengals don't have DJ Reader. He is their big run stuffing defensive tackle. I think the Chiefs can run on Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati under this coach, Zach Taylor, and these numbers by now. I don't know what it is early in the season, but under Zach Taylor, their head coach, they are 1-11 in the first couple weeks of the season. 1-11, that's straight up. And Joe Burrow has not played well early in the season, and then the Bengals kind of get their act together and they start rolling. But just because they've played the Chiefs tough in the past at Arrowhead, I don't think that means it'll happen this time. We know that the Chiefs sort of bring out the best in the Bengals. But if you watch that game, and I watched it late Sunday night when they lost to New England, they couldn't stop the run. They got beat up physically. Joe Burrow's always fooling around with his wrist. He was not accurate. There's questions at wide receiver. And there's just a lot of issues they have. And I think the Chiefs can actually play better, especially at home, than they did in beating the Ravens. So I just, I didn't, until I see Joe Burrow starting to push the ball downfield, until I see that zip back and that timing and that rhythm and that accuracy, that Steve Spagnuolo defense did a hell of a job against the Ravens. And I think they can do a hell of a job against the Bengals. So, and I think there's a higher level for this Chiefs offense. So I'm going to take the Chiefs and lay the 6. There's a couple other ones I like. I really, this has nothing to do with whether I like the Cowboys. I can't stand the Cowboys. It has nothing to do with it. I love Dallas -6 at home against the Saints because the Cowboys have a terrific offensive line. Got to look at my notes. You got some injuries on defense for the Saints. Prescott and CeeDee Lamb probably going to have a really good day. Here's another inside angle on this. Mike Zimmer, the Cowboys defensive coordinator, again, he spent a lot of time working with, as coaching mates, Gary and his son Clint Kubiak. Mike Zimmer has a really great idea of what the Kubiaks, and in this case, it's Clint, the New Orleans Saints offense coordinator. He has a really great idea of what they want to do, what they like to do. And one thing about Dallas, And I think the Saints have got some offensive line problems. Dallas will get after Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is not good under pressure. And I know the Saints, I know the Cowboys in the postseason last year were embarrassing and they lost, but we're not talking about the postseason. You know, they had 6 wins by at least 20 points at home during the regular season last year. They're really, really good at home, regular season. And overall at home, they're 6-1 against the spread. Their last 7 when they've been a 5-point favorite or more. So I'm going to take them. And I look, the Saints look great, but they beat up on a minor league level Carolina Panthers team. You know, this is a lot different going to Dallas in the regular season, especially if you don't have Marcus Lattimore, your excellent corner. Another one I really love is Philadelphia laying 6.5 at home against the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is 3-10 straight up on Monday Night Football. He's never been a showcase platform, big viewing audience, prime time, never been really good. I don't know what it is. Is that a coincidence? I don't think it is. He looked terrible last week. And he obviously has a lack of mobility after he's coming back from that torn Achilles. He's not moving well. The game's going to be in Philly. They lost to the damn Steelers at home last week, and they could not protect Cousins, which is why they had him, running like the pistol formation a lot because they wanted a back to his side to maybe pick up a blitz if it got to that point. They relied on that pistol formation a lot, which tells you they don't have faith in their line and they don't have faith in Kirk Cousins to get away from pass pressure. Philly will bring the heat, and they're very well coached on that side of the ball, and they're really, really good. So Atlanta got 10 points at home, and Cousins did not look good, and the offensive line, got beat up by the Steelers. So are you kidding me? Now you're going to take Kirk Cousins, who's so bad in Monday night games in his career. Now you're going to go to Philly, which, by the way, Philly looked damn good against the Packers, winning it. It was a close one, but Saquon Barkley opens up a lot of stuff for them. And I thought Jalen Hurts was a lot better in that game. I know it's only a week. A lot better in that game than we saw most of the year last year. It looks like they've smoothed some things out offensively with Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. So it should be it should be an easy as in not a lot of stress, not a lot of pressure kind of night for Jalen Hurts because the Philadelphia defense is going to be going nuts. And Hurts did turn the ball over. So I should eat my words a little. He did turn the ball over, I think 3 times in Brazil against against the Packers. But here's why I say it should be a pretty comfortable night for Jalen Hurts, which I think will make a difference. Where his ball security and all that, his decisions, he won't be as harried. The Falcons last week against the Steelers, their pass rush win rate. In other words, how many times guys rushing, right? How many times does he win that battle? Or how many times, conversely, does he get blocked? And he's kept away, where you give the victory, so to speak, to the offensive lineman. The Falcons were 29th last week in pass rush win rate. In other words, they couldn't get it anywhere near Justin Fields, of course, started for the Steelers. So if Philadelphia can win 34-29 with Barkley leading the way and beat the Packers when Hurts turns it over 3 times, they still won the game with 3 turnovers by their quarterback. I just think that this one's set up for like one of these big Philadelphia parties. Of course, I could be wrong. I like the Ravens laying points at home against the Raiders. I won't talk about it. Another one I really like is the Chargers -5.5 at Carolina. You know why? Because Jim Harbaugh has already changed the identity of that team. They can go in there and pound the ball. They pounded the ball last week against the Raiders. They were tough. They were physical. They were knocking people down. They didn't need Justin Herbert to be like this big superstar hero, having to pull the game out every week. Jim Harbaugh is an excellent coach. He's an excellent NFL coach. And if you look at the Saints last week, they ran for like 5 yards per carry against the Panthers. That tough Harbaugh team, when he drafted John Alt, that offensive tackle who looks great, that tough Harbaugh team is going to be able to pound the rock, and they were going to pound it and pound it and pound it. Another thing about Harbaugh, and this goes back to his days as the 49ers coach, but I like this stat because his teams have an identity. They can go on the road and beat you down. 9-4 against the spread when traveling from the East Coast, traveling from California to the East Coast. 9-4 against the spread. And also, he's 39-24 and spread as an NFL head coach. All Justin Herbert needs to do is manage the game, make some plays when they need it. He doesn't have to be the superhero. Justin Herbert is 24-9-1 against the spread when his defense in that game gives up 24 points or less. So that's some of my thinking. I could be wrong. You'll let me know. I'll get on a heater here soon. But anyway, I've talked long enough. Little happy hour talk. It's pretty good. We got some Cardinals things in. By the way, Nolan Gorman looks good down in Memphis. He's striking out only 16% of the time since he went down there. Why the heck is it? I'll probably holler about this next week. Why is it that they can't fix him in the major league level? You got to go to Memphis and they figure it out. And all of a sudden he's not swinging and missing. All of a sudden he's not striking out. It's embarrassing. All right. Final Cardinals, though. So we did some Cardinals today, some Blues today. We did some Mizzou today. We did some Chiefs. We did some other NFL pick. And I think I'm going to call it a day. That's it for happy hour. We'll be back with you on Monday, unless I get fired up about something over the weekend. Y'all take care. Thank you, as always, for being so kind with your support.